A father made a very, very hard decision that could tear the family in half, but also may save lives. A father out of Clayton County walked his 16-year-old son, Laquan Stephens, into a police station after the teen was named on the most wanted list after a brutal shooting of another juvenile. As he told his son, this has to stop. The father reportedly told him in the car as his voice was shaking, "You're going to face this, and I'm going to stand right next to you." Investigators say a young victim was sitting in the front of a passenger seat of the vehicle when shots rang out, hitting the child in the face and the neck. The shooter took off, leaving family members and first responders to fight for the victim's life, while a 48-hour manhunt unfolded across Clayton County. Deputies labeled Laquan armed and dangerous and blasted his photo across social media, warning neighbors not to approach him. SWAT-style teams hit homes searching for any trace of the teenager. In the end, it wasn't the raid that brought Laquan in. It was his father's hand on his shoulder. As he told his son, "I love you." The dad is said to have whispered as they walked inside, "But I'm not going to lose you to the streets and the police." Now, as the teens faces serious charges, a wounded child fights to recover, and a father tries to live with the hardest decision he's ever made. And from the comments that I've been coming across via the internet, it's been a bit of a half and half. You got some people who have been, praising the father, saluting him, knowing that this was a very hard and difficult decision for him to make. But I also been seeing a lot of people uh, crucifying the father for what he did, calling him lame, saying, "Oh, that's messed up. How could you do that to your own son?" And from what I just read, when he said, "Son, this has to stop," I could be wrong, but it sounds like to me that the father had probably been giving the son some warning for some time now. This is exactly what it sounds like. It sounds like, the young man had been on, demon time, as they call it, being out in these streets for some time. And it sounds like the father had been warning him and trying to tell him and try to instill in him, "Hey, ain't nothing out in them streets. You gonna, hey, you gonna, you gonna end up getting yourself in a situation that it's gonna be hard to get out of." It seems like he had been trying to warn the son when he said this has to stop. Meaning, I'm pretty sure this is not his first time dealing with these type of situations with the son. So, understandably, yes, this was a very hard decision as a father to do. But at the end of the day, I cannot fault the father for his actions. I'm pretty sure it's tearing him up inside. Hell, I'm pretty sure it's tearing him up even more because of the simple fact that he's probably been questioning himself as a parent, thinking like, "Damn, what could I have done to prevent my son from going down this road? What could I have done better? Or was there something that I didn't do enough of?" People don't seem to understand, especially being parents in this day and age. You know, a lot of people love to finger point the parents when it comes to their kids, when it comes to these kids going into different directions. A lot of people like to say, "Man, these parents ain't raising these kids. They're not doing this. They're not disciplining them and all that stuff." First of all, it's a lot of parents, even when it's a lot of parents that are busting their ass to instill what's right and what's wrong into their children. Unfortunately, a lot of these kids make their own decisions, no matter what. A lot of these kids don't grow up in poverty-stricken conditions. A lot of these kids don't grow up in ghettos. A lot of these kids don't grow up in the hood. So a lot of these kids got it better far as living wise than what a lot of us had growing up. Sadly, a lot of these kids end up getting into their teenage years and they start being influenced about what's, their surroundings, as far as kids at school or what they see on the internet or via social media, and they make their own decision to want to dibble and dabble into a life that they know they're not about, a life that they don't know anything about, as far as the streets. And they thinking all this stuff is a whole big thing of Grand Theft Auto. And then until when stuff gets real, that's when it really hits them. Because at the end of the day, a parent can do everything in their power to make sure that their child does not go into that life. But at the end of the day, a lot of these kids make their own decisions. They allow themselves to be influenced by ignorance as far as their peers and everything. So what it sounds like to me is like the father definitely tried to warn the son. And not to mention, I'm reading the comments, people are saying, oh, the father's wrong, the father's lame and stuff like that. You're not realizing that not only, the young man's family who, the guy who's accused of doing this, but you're not realizing the fact that a whole nother family is being affected by the situation as far as the victim. He was sitting in the car, chilling, minding his business, and shots rang out, and he get hit in the neck and the face. And I'm praying that he makes a full recovery. But let's be honest, that situation, that situation is going to affect him for the rest of his life. I'm really praying that he doesn't die or anything like that. I pray that he just makes a full recovery and able to get back to back to living his life. But getting shot in the face and the neck, he could have been DOA right there. He could have been DOA right there. But yet people sit there and destroying his father on the internet, calling him all kind of names because what he did had turning in his son. But y'all not thinking about the fact that, it's the other side that's affected too. But yet if it was your family member that got hit in the face and the neck, y'all be on the news and on the internet screaming, somebody need to come forward, somebody need to say something, somebody need to give us some information. So I feel like until you in that situation of, having to be there for a shooting victim who's nearly lost their life, don't sit there and don't try to give your 2 cents without looking at both sides of the spectrum. You got one side where a father had to make a very hard and difficult decision by turning in his son, uh, knowing that what this could lead to or possibly lead to. And then you got the other side where you have a victim that's fighting for their life and trying to recover and who will never be the same. Y'all let me know in the comments what y'all think about this, man. I'm out.